All right, what's up, everybody? It is New Year's Day. I hope you've had a wonderful one. I hope you were able to spend it with all your friends, your family, and all your loved ones. Hope that it's been great for you. You know, it's a new year. It's always a new time. So at the start of every new year, we always got to take a look back on what we did to get here. And 2017 was a really good year for us nerds here. A lot of good movies, comics, all sorts of big things came out. But let's see who we got here with us today. As usual, from the usual suspects, we got the Soul King himself. What's going on, brother?
What up, y'all?
What's good, man?
Of course, we got the mega fraud operation himself.
All right, I'm going to need a new nickname because I can't be being called a fraud in the new year now.
All right, underground rookie.
I'll sell for that.
Nethos is still making his way out of hell since our resident Vegeta lover ain't here right now and put him there. So we're gonna bring him back one day. We're gonna find the Dragon Balls. And of course, we got a very special guest here, the man himself, the legend of Mr. Xbox Mafia, Mr. 100.
What's up, y'all guys? With you guys, man. Appreciate you inviting me on the show. I know I was supposed to do it a couple of weeks ago, but you know, y'all be getting up early. You know, I'm a night owl.
Hey, man, when you anime lovers like us, we used to them Saturday morning cartoons, brother.
Yeah, man. But appreciate it, you know, and hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Oh, absolutely, man. We're glad that you're here with us today. So, like I was saying, 2017 was a big year for us. A lot of shows came out, a lot of movies, a lot of big things happening. You know, we've seen a lot of the DC stuff building up. We saw stuff with Marvel, a lot of new comics and shows coming up. There was a lot of big stuff going on and deals that were making a lot of big implications for what's going to happen in 2018. So we just kind of want to see what everyone's thoughts are for the past year. Op, why don't you start out? What had you excited all last year?
Well, for me, the biggest thing was Justice League because, like, with how DCU has been set up for a whole year, it's been pretty back and forth, stable. Like, just I'm glad that Justice League came out way. It was pretty good. The sad thing is, like, where the current state is, and now we're probably never going to see a Snyderverse or probably like a muddy future for DCU moving forward. Because we all know it was a box office failure. So that would be how something like that might be able to change their plans up right now. So that could affect their future movies going on. But just leave on pause on Justice League for me.
Yep. There's everything that's been going on with the new DC movies and all that has been kind of hit or miss with a lot. So their plans are kind of up. What about you, 100? What had you all hyped up for last year?
That was on Netflix. That had me real hyped. I wasn't expecting like the Defenders.
Oh yeah,
the Defenders.
Yeah. Punisher was off the chain because it brought because like I said, I had kind of like medium expectations like I had for Bright. I didn't wasn't expecting to be blown away, and I was being blown away. Like it had me binge watching.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I like how, you know what I'm saying, Disney is letting that part of Marvel exist on YouTube. I mean on Netflix. Because, you know, it's like a dope part. It's not always all kiddish. That was like my most surprising and I was interested in this year in Star Wars. But hey, some people like it, some people hate it.
Yeah, and I think that's come to be an expectation with a lot of different things right now. Is that with the Star Wars and with a lot of shows that they've always been hit or miss for some people, especially when you look at the Netflix shows. Nothing has been real big since the first season of Daredevil. However, after that, you know, the second season was still really big when they introduced the Punisher. Then Jessica Jones was highly liked, but not as good. Same as with Luke Cage, and Luke Cage was a knockout. And, you know, everyone watched Iron Fist, and a lot of people hated that.
Yeah, Iron Fist definitely brought down their credibility a little bit, but they still got time to bring it back up.
Oh yeah, I think they just need to kind of rework how they're going to be doing Iron Fist a little bit, but that'll definitely help take care of a lot of things.
Definitely, that was definitely the lowest point for them. I really enjoyed Jessica Jones. Luke Cage too was good too. I didn't like how they handled. They feel they could have got more out of Cottonmouth, but you know it is what it is.
I definitely think they could have gotten more out of Cottonmouth, but what they were setting up with Luke Cage, I think is going to be well worth the wait.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they didn't completely get rid of him. You know, he's gonna have his own suit up next because he's going with that company. And you know, with them announcing second season Jessica Jones, we're gonna see more into the company that kind of gave them their powers.
Oh, definitely, man. It's definitely worth the wait. We have a slight echo and botting going on right now.
Yeah, it seems like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully it clears up.
I'll hop back in real quick.
Alrighty. Yeah, sorry about that there, folks, but we're going to get this all under control. But like you said, Bone, you know, keeping your expectations tempered is definitely the way that you need to handle these things. A lot of people had high hopes for a lot of stuff or try to expect it to be more than what it was. But, you know, with anything, you always got to stay, you know, keep it grounded, you know, be hyped for what you want to be hyped for. But, you know, you still got to have it level-headed, because if you put it too high and it's not what you want it to be, then you're just going to be completely disappointed with it. And that's what we're seeing with, you know, with Star Wars, with how a lot of people felt, because they wanted it to be like this, like that, like they had all these different thoughts on what the movie was going to be. And when it wasn't any of what anyone thought it was, it immediately was hated. They stopped looking at it, the movie for what it is and telling its own story. Instead, they wanted to follow a preset story that a lot of people already had thought of.
Yeah, that was definitely an issue because some fans, their theories are like going really way out there. But I think Disney is part of fault here for how they set up Snoke too. Because pretty much how they set him up, he's a living resource. He's powerful in his cities himself.
There's some theories about Snoke that I really think is true. So I don't know.
Yeah, but what Disney came out and said,
so I'm not going to
he's
say
more powerful.
Anything, so like, everything comes true. So.
Yeah, exactly. And Hunter made a good point. You know, he said that he was glad the way that Disney's handling like the Netflix series for the Marvel, and he's right. You know, they're a little bit more extreme because look at how it is. You know, you have things like the Punisher, which is, you know, probably one of the biggest anti-heroes, if you even want to call him that sometimes, like Deadpool. Dude does not go by any other rule other than his own. He has a code, yeah, but it's always his way or no way. He very rarely ever settles. The way that they did the show was phenomenal, and the way that they handled the characters, the drama, and I like the way that they interpreted Microchip in this one. Like Micro was really cool, and his dynamic with Frank Castle was really phenomenal. And seeing the way that the Defenders and all them exist on the Netflix, it's great to have their own universe. I hope we see them kind of tie in, because as we've seen through all the series, they keep referencing everything that's going on in the major MCU, and I hope that they get a chance to shine in at some point. But we'll have to kind of wait to see how that all plays out.
I wonder how they'll fit in MCEU too as well, because it can be challenging taking from like a TV. I guess if you can't take it like this, TV actors put on a big movie screen like that as well, because not everything's gonna like first transfer over like I guess fluidly, I guess. For lack of a better term, though.
The guy who plays the Punisher, I think he'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I think he'll fit
perfect.
Everybody else. A little weird though.
Yeah. I think Charlie Cox is perfect for Daredevil. I think he really does the role well. I like the actor who does Karen. You know, we've seen that the actor for Luke Cage is phenomenal, as well as that girl who plays Jessica Jones. I know a lot of the big issue was how people felt about Finn Jones playing, you know, Iron Fist.
He fits him good. I think he fits the role pretty well. Just like the writing for the show just threw it off.
Yeah, it was definitely a writing issue, not so much a
performance
issue.
From him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Jones' story, it got me annoyed, kind of like really annoyed.
It definitely had its points where it could be a little bit annoying, but for the most part, I really enjoyed Jessica Jones.
No, Jessica is underrated to me. You know what I'm saying? I liked it. You know, I liked it. You know, she going through it. You know, with her mind is going playing tricks. She don't want to help people, but she got people around that want to help. You know what I'm saying? And she got a heart, but she don't want her heart to be broken again. And this dude mind fucked the shit out of her. So, and she don't know how to control it. And then I think Luke put a balance towards her.
Yep.
So
and you make a good point. That was a lot of the big thing, is because it was kind of going into that PTSD of, especially with her being a sexual assault kind of survivor, having been everything that she went through with Kilgrave, with Purple Man, as he was known. But yeah, but Kilgrave did do that, and even in the comics it was like that. And you're right that Luke Cage kind of was her balance, and I kind of hope that they kind of, I know that they have Luke Cage right now with
the Night Nurse.
Yeah, with the Night Nurse, and that's a nice call because the Night Nurse is actually a different character because they made it Claire Temple instead of the nurse who works with Doctor Strange, because she was the original Night Nurse. But I kind of hope that they put it back to where in time Luke is going to go back to Jessica, because in the comic Jessica and Luke are married and they have a daughter. Especially with them already bringing in the that comedy show where it's going to introduce Squirrel Girl and some of the other like small time superheroes that are kind of like jokey characters, because Squirrel Girl babysits Luke Cage and Jessica Jones' daughter in the comics.
Oh god, how's that gonna work?
Well, like I said, when they introduced Squirrel Girl in their show coming up here in 2018, it's going to be a comedy. It's going to be a complete comedy with them and some of the other jokey characters that they're adding.
Live action, right?
Yeah, it's a live action too.
And she has an actual tail, sure.
Yeah, she does have an actual tail.
Oh god, it's gonna be like either like a puppet or a CG.
I hope it's good. That's all I'm saying. I hope it's good.
Well, I know that the actor that they have playing Squirrel Girl is the girl from the AT&T commercials. Those really, yeah, her.
Wow.
AT&T.
Well, apparently, no. She was a small time actor that was really wanting to break out into something, and she was doing that right now just to kind of get her start. But I'm glad to see that she's actually getting to do something really big, and she knows the character of Squirrel Girl very well. And I think the way her personality comes off, I think she could do it fairly well and do it right.
Huh.
It might work. So. We'll see. Come on. We'll see.
Well, Netflix been hitting it out the park, lately. So hope they go, they're going up on prices anyway. So instead of my little $9.99, it's $13.99 starting this month. So they put it in the right space.
Netflix is getting hated right now. They're like getting hate for no reason.
Yeah, and honey, it's a good thing that you mentioned that up, because on a previous episode we talked about the price increase and why they was doing it. And one of the big things is that they want to invest more into movies, and especially for us when we're talking about animes, that they want to put into like 40 or a couple hundred new anime shows and series to bring out on their platform, as well as other movies that they want to fund. And seeing like with the Bright movie that just came out, seeing what they could do with big budgets, that's phenomenal. Like the critics were hating it for no reason. It was nowhere near as bad as they were stating it was. Like I think Netflix is definitely getting in the right groove for things. Yeah, we saw a lot of the trash that they were just putting out early on and when they were first coming up, when they were filling out. But now we're starting to really see them kind of get that going.
They have this 2017. They came up with a lot of great TV shows and movies like Bright. Like we thought that they were hating on Justice League bad.
Oh
they
man,
they were destroying Bright for no reason. Like I had multiple people watch the movie, and I'm trying to tell them like, do y'all see anything wrong with this movie? And they just told me no. Like there's nothing that I could see like legit wrong with this movie.
But see, a lot of people thought this movie came out in theaters and stuff like that. Like I had medium expectations for it, you know what I'm saying? Because I saw the trailer and I'm like, okay, this looked pretty cool. Because I'm into the sci-fi, the fairyism and stuff like that. So and I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, like the beginning of the movie, Will Smith had me dying laughing.
Exactly.
He talking to the gangsters and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that movie had a little bit of everything for everybody though, dude. It had comedy, it had drama. It had, some touchy feely stuff like with the love. It had everything, dude.
For Men in Black, like the girl,
Yep.
Like the girl in the club. She was basically like the guy from Men in Black, the first movie.
Yep, exactly, and that's what me and Op were talking about, because we were all watching it together, and like the first few minutes like got really real because it hit those
movie level.
Exactly. It hit those real life aspects of what's going on race and all that, but it still made the other characters very humanized. It wasn't like overboard or anything. Like they made them have essence that it didn't matter if they were an orc or an elf or anything like that. It was very, very touch based in the humanity aspect of the characters.
Yeah, it was very grounded in current events going on right now.
They don't like stuff that hits close to home, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of the issues that people feeling uncomfortable with it, man.
Probably no one reflect on our life.
Exactly. Right. No one wants that in a fairy movie.
The scene where what's his name? Jacoby? That's his name, right? Jacoby?
Yeah, Jacoby.
The scene where they're in the precinct sitting at the table, and I was like, and the girl was talking to him. I was like, yo, that was so fucking racist. Like,
yeah, they don't be right. Just
that was just like because I just recently watched the new Blade Runner, and like you say, the racism going. There's racism going there. What they calling the people? They call them skin jobs and all that other stuff. They just bringing out what's going on in this world right now. They just put it out in a different format.
Yeah, people
don't understand. Blade Runner didn't get, like, it wasn't getting praised at all. I heard it getting like a little kind of negative vibe.
Yeah, see, and
it was getting shit on too.
And good thing that y'all brought Blade Runner, because that's another one. Because Blade Runner is a classic, especially when you're looking at futuristic sci-fi movies. Because that one's probably one of the top from way back in the day. And if you've seen Blade Runner 2049, like, it's a phenomenal movie. Like, seeing Harrison Ford come back was great. Ryan Gosling knocked it out of the park with the way that he was playing his character, and the movie was but it was getting hated because of a lot of the fact that it was getting a lot of touchy subjects in there while still making it exist in context with the universe that they live in. And it's just like, why are y'all getting mad about it before? This existed in the old movies. It's just one of those things that I don't understand why people are getting mad about. Like, I understand that when it comes to critiquing movies, that they do have to hit certain beats and aspects and having the rhythm of the movie. But it's like, when there's certain points that people are calling out to hate on, but they make sense.
Everybody thinks they're a worker for Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb now. So
movie critics.
I'm starting to think all of them like get together and figure out what movies want shit on, which ones are praised.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like
they get paid to shit on things.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. I consider that like
IGN, bro.
Yeah, Rotten
all
Tomatoes
the media
to me
is
it's like in the gaming. Like what's that? What's the place everybody go to? If for video games and you got it all in one place, I can't think of right. No, not N4G. It's the other one. Metacritic. That's what do. Everybody go believe what from Metacritic, but places like some places like the No has called out. Right, was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But people don't give it a chance. It's like they rather listen to them before they go watch it themselves. I didn't watch a lot of movies. People was like, that movie was garbage. Huh? I enjoyed it.
Like, you could see that, like, you go to Rotten Tomatoes, you could see the score that they gave them. And then you look at the audience score. Is completely different.
Exactly, and we saw that with Star Wars Episode 8. Look at that. Like, Star Wars Episode 8 had a 96 praise from critics, and then when you look at the audience scores, it's like 50. It's like 53, or it was at 62 after like the first week, and then dropped for fan scores, and you see that discrepancy. But when you look at that movie from this aspect of a Star Wars movie, you appreciate it for what it was. The people that are getting upset are those who wanted to follow because of how Force Awakens
they want the lore, and they want everything to match up with what
with Star Wars. Yeah, but see, everybody with Star Wars, they want Empire.
Yeah, you're right. They wanted Empire Strikes Back, and they did their own version of Empire Strikes Back. And they're just like, well, they didn't suffer major loss like they did. I was like, are you kidding me? Look at the end of the movie. All that's left of the Resistance is like 12 people that can fit on the Millennium Falcon. Everyone else is dead.
Resistance right now.
Yeah, I was like, they called out to everyone out in the Outer Rim, and no one answered. So all that's left of the Resistance is all on the Millennium Falcon. One single ship. Yes, you had the upcoming from Rey and everything else that was left by Luke. But there's so many not there. Everyone else is dead.
We also got to remember that the First Order, they're pretty much heavily crippled at this point, too, because they just lost Snoke. They lost 2 dreadnoughts, I believe. I don't remember what the last one was called.
No, it was one dreadnought, and then they lost that huge ship that was Snoke.
Yeah, their flagship. All right, so the dreadnought and their flagship, they get a portion of their fleet, too, as well. So they're heavily crippled, too, but they're still kicking around.
Yeah, but they have a majority of a lot of their senior leadership. All the senior leadership of the Republic, you know, the public army and military is all that's
Yeah.
left is Poe Dameron, who was a commander, and then you have General Leia. That's it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Is someone playing the podcast out loud? They're totally crippled too, but they're still kicking around.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody like lower or muted, please.
Yeah, hearing that echo now.
But, I don't know, man. They did it with Justice League too, so.
Yeah, and look at Justice League too. With that, like Justice League was majorly hated by critics, and yet it was loved by the fans. Like
Justice critics League, like 39%, audience like 88 or something like that.
Yeah, but that one was because of the fact that one, DC was already being heavily critiqued by everything. Like honestly, like the way it is nowadays, it's you can't always go off based on what critics say. Honestly, it comes down to an aspect of you really gotta go into the shows or these movies or anything with
experience it for yourself.
Exactly, experience it for yourself. Get an idea of what people say, but don't take their word as fact, because your opinions and your interests may not be the same as the critics. It may not be the same as other people's. Go into it with what you want out of it. Because if you go believe in what everyone else says, then you're going to set up a standard or an expectation on what they say. And if you go based on that and it doesn't meet that expectation, then you'll be mad. But if you go based on your own, then you'll be all right.
For Star Wars, all I wanted was some good action scenes. They gave me that. That's all I wanted. For Justice League, I just wanted to see a good Flash. So, I don't know.
Yeah, up until the end, we saw him running. That threw off me for Flash, because that was something. I don't know what the hell that was.
The only thing that messed me up was the end scene of this. Of Flash running. I was like, what is this trash?
This dude's run like a dog that got shot.
Dude, the way that they made the Flash run, it looked more like he was skating. And it was kind of
skating.
And I'm just like, and it wasn't even good skating, because when he would run, he would throw his other leg completely behind him. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Completely backwards. I'm like, this is terrible. They need to have him go. They need to have him train. He needs to do cross country.
I mean,
I was like,
play devil's advocate. I guess they're going with I guess to play devil's advocate, they're probably going with like he's a very inexperienced Flash, so he doesn't have his own running formation down. But I can't support that. I'm just throwing it out there. But if they're really going with that, they need to clean that up quick.
If they're gonna go with the inexperience, they need to have him tripping over his feet or something.
Like, yeah, just anything but that. Jeez.
Yeah, and think about it too. Is like if they are going, they've shown that he's been doing small things in his free time that he's already had himself, because he already has the suit. Obviously, they know what he's doing. Like he's been obviously set up doing this for a little bit, because if he was inexperienced, he wouldn't have the suit. You know, they know he knows what he's doing.
Okay.
So it's one of those things of, hey man, like they need to get it down straight. Because look at Grant Gustin, okay, from the TV Flash. Even when he was first set up for it on the very first season when they did that, they showed him as being clumsy when he was first learning how to use his powers. But he still was actually looking like he was running. He didn't look like he was like flailing all over the place.
True. Yeah, it was like that at first.
But you know, with the movies, man, there was a lot that came out. You know, we had Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I still haven't seen that yet. I didn't go see that. Bro. I'm sorry. I just didn't go see it. I had no interest in when it came out. I'm sorry, yo.
Sai, this is what it's on. It's on Netflix, bro.
On Netflix now?
Dude, it's been on Netflix, bro. You're gonna have to hold this L for this, man.
I will. I'll find it. I never care for the other two.
Like, come on, man. It's on Netflix, so you can watch it now that way. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a phenomenal sequel, because the first one was hilarious. The second one was still really good. It was great to see, you know, Kurt Russell as Ego the Living Planet. And they did Ego the way that I really hoped that they would, because Ego was such an interesting character from the comics, being an actual living planet. And he did exactly what they wanted, that the human form that we saw was one of his seeds that he uses, but the planet itself is still Ego.
Wait.
And that
it was pretty dope. I liked it. I just like, I don't know, like the thing that I always say about like DC movies and and
Marvel movies.
Marvel does the thing. They do things inconsistent too, and Guardians of the Galaxy that shows it as well. But it was still
Quick
good.
correction.
I can't hate on it.
Quick correction. It wasn't Guardians I didn't see. It was Thor. I don't know. I got the two mixed up. Probably because Thor is heavy like Guardians now, but I didn't see Thor yet. But I did see Guardians too.
Yeah.
But I'll see that in due time if it comes out. Or just
Thor is just Thor of the galaxy, and that's what it is basically.
Definitely. But like I said, man, like Guardians is definitely phenomenal, and I loved it. I love the way that they're setting up. They did a lot of the characters right. They did tease out with Sylvester Stallone's characters and the other what were they, the rogues that Star-Lord used to be a part of with
I know what you're talking about.
At the very end, the end scene that kind of shows all the group commanders of all their ships from all those guys. They were actually in the comics, like they had their own group, and it kind of showed their beginnings on everything. So kind of seeing them tease all that was really great.
Yeah, I agree with Lady Foxfire in chat. The Pac-Man part was a little weird too for me. And, Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Yeah, the little Pac-Man part. I thought it was funny. Like they kept making so many like obscure references. I loved like the fact when he lost his little Walkman that they gave him a Zune. Like that was hilarious. Yeah. And then when they were waiting for the creature in the beginning, he had that old handheld football game that was made by Madden way back in what was it, like the 80s or whatever, that had the little lights that you would play.
Yeah.
Like Hunter could tell us all about that.
It's really Guardians of the Galaxy is really good. It's just they try to throw a little too much kiddiness into like the serious part.
That's what gets me.
Like when he found out that Ego killed his mother, he was just like, "You killed my mother and you broke my Walkman." I was like,
"Come on, man! Just keep it serious just a little bit."
Well, I mean, like it makes sense. Yes, I will admit that it was a little bit cheesy, but at the same time, you got to think that for him, the Walkman was the last thing that he had of his mom besides the cassette tapes. So it makes sense that when he finds out that what Ego did to his mom, and that he killed her, and that the only thing left that he had from her and the memories that he had of her was destroyed by Ego, it would make him mad. It would break him.
It definitely would make him mad. Just I guess the delivery of it just felt a little off to me.
I can see that the delivery was a little bit off. But
and then especially the Pac-Man scene, I was like, okay.
Yeah, like everyone's hating on that, but you gotta think that for Star-Lord, he hasn't been on Earth since probably the 80s when he was a kid. So he's using what he knows.
I understand, but the funny thing about it, I knew something like that was going to happen when he brought it up earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
He was like, get ready to see a giant ass Pac-Man, or something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
But like I said, it's setting up a lot, and like their movies do have their issues, but at the same time, they're always enjoyable, and they're still really done. Like we saw Ragnarok, like with Thor. Thor had completely turned around from what it was in the first 3 movies, and like I said, I was already drunk when I went in there to see it, but I was laughing the whole movie, dude. Like I was enjoying the cadence of it. It was really well done. I liked the change on how they were doing the characters. It made more sense because, like, especially if you look at Thor and Loki and all them, they are literal gods among humans. They've always had that kind of more debonair kind of attitude than the always serious. Oh, we gotta do this. We have to. It's for the people. No, they've always had that kind of cheekiness to them, and it's good that they brought that back. That fits those characters' personalities more. And then when you see the way that they were doing Planet Hulk with Gladiator Hulk and seeing the cheekiness between him and Thor, that was great. And like the guys who were being locked up, that were all there in the dungeons that are all gladiators, I like that. The Rock dude made me laugh. Like I love.
Funny. He's pretty funny. Yeah.
I liked him. He's just like, what are we doing here? We got to get out. He's like, you sound just like old Jeff. What happened to him? He died. I like you. I like you, new Jeff.
Yeah. So that Thor is real good, right? Because I've been wanting to watch Thor.
Yeah, dude.
Thor. I watched the first one.
It's the best Thor. It's the best.
Yeah.
Okay, it was too slow.
Yeah. I watched through all the old movies. Like I grew up watching all the Marvel movies. I know that some of them are slower and different, but this one was definitely a much different take on it. It definitely had a lot more of the humor, and it fits it more. It fit more and really played on the characters and how they interacted. It wasn't always this overzealousness. It wasn't focusing on Thor's relationship with Natalie Portman's character. I can't remember her right now.
But she's not gonna show up no more. She's erased.
Exactly, because one, Natalie Portman already said that she doesn't want to do any more series or franchises or anything because she felt like Star Wars ruined her career, and she tried doing a lot more one-offs after that. So because you got to remember that she felt that way during the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, those prequels are career killers right there.
I wouldn't say that they were, because Edwin McGregor's still because look, Edwin McGregor's still doing phenomenal, and he was great. You know, seeing him as Obi-Wan, you know, it didn't do anything to the man himself with Liam Neeson. Yeah, and he was in the first movie. And he got killed off, and yet he's still perfectly fine. Like,
wasn't Liam like established before Star Wars though? Was he established before?
So was Natalie Portman, because she had done some big stuff, and then after that she felt like it all ruined her.
She probably just sounds hurt about it.
She's making up an excuse. That's what she's doing. She's
exactly. And like the worst part about it is that if she had stayed, like, she would have had really big come ups because of the fact that we already know that for the MCU, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything else, is that everything's going to change once we come into after Phase 4, or come into Phase 4 after Infinity War. And we already know that Chris Evans, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man, and a lot of the other big ones are stepping down for a bit. They stated that they'll come back if they have the story writing right for why they need a return, but they want to take some time off. There's still going to be producers and all that helping out with the movie series and everything, because they still want to have a hand to help in making sure it stays right. But they're passing on the mantles, so we know someone's going to take over for Cap. And I feel like we've talked about this, is that Bucky's going to pick up the mantle for Cap because because Sam hasn't.
I don't want Falcon to take Cap.
See, Falcon is good as Captain America, but Sam hasn't fully established himself yet as Falcon. So I think he needs more fleshing out before we see him take up the mantle for Cap. So I think Bucky's going to pick it up. And then
did y'all see the meme that were going around like social media about the beards?
No, I haven't seen it.
I know.
It was Logan had a beard. Who else? It
was it Kratos too? That one?
Yeah, Kratos had a beard.
Right, I've seen this one. Yeah.
What else? Caesar from Planet of the Apes had a beard. And what happened to all those guys?
They all die.
Yeah.
So, Cap, I'm sorry, you're dying. He's dying this year, probably. I mean, next year.
He'll come back.
He always does.
I think they're gonna die, and one of them stones gonna bring him back.
Yeah. Because he originally was supposed to die in Civil War, because
he really was.
If you go based on the comics, after the Civil War ended, after his final fight and showdown with Iron Man, and they realized what they were doing to the MCU, he gave himself up. He said that this can't happen. He doesn't want any more bloodshed. That he surrenders and he wants to bring it all to an end. And when he's being taken to be put on trial, he gets assassinated on his way into the courthouse, and it was by Peggy Carter's granddaughter, or
she was brainwashed, right?
Yeah, it's the girl that brought him his shield and everything else in the movie. I can't remember her. I know she's Peggy Carter's. I think she said niece, because she was saying that.
Yeah, she's a niece.
Yeah, which is a major discrepancy in time era, because that's like a discrepancy of like 70 years. But that's one of those things that we've talked about inconsistency. But she was actually brainwashed by, I think it was Baron Zemo, and she actually assassinated Cap because she walked up to him while he's being taken in and shot him.
She shot him in the abdomen, right?
Yeah, she shot. Yeah, she had her arms wrapped around him, and she shot him like in the back of the spine, right?
Okay, that's what I was.
And it came out his abdomen. Yeah, but she assassinated him like that.
So I thought you had a healing factor. You got shot in the abdomen, but from back of the spine, yeah. Unless you also Wolverine or Deadpool, you're not coming back from that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's how they killed him off. But he came back because he was healed in an experimental test. But with them not doing that, like I said, they have to be setting up for him to die in the Infinity War, and then someone's gonna have to pick it up because a lot of the big characters stepping down. We know someone's gonna have to take their mantles. We know Robert Downey Jr. said that he wants to put up Iron Man for now. He's also one of the others that said that if they have a good story, that they'll bring him back. But for the most part, he wants to step down from Iron Man, put it up.
Who's gonna do Iron Man?
And the girl in the comic.
Yeah,
well,
the
black girl, the college girl. They might can have somebody from Uganda to do it. What's one of the girls I think with that smart?
From yeah, I would like that. I think that would be dope. That would be dope, but I think that the world is not ready for that right now.
Well, that's what. But again, you got to think too that's what we're setting up for here within the movies and possibilities. We're not even looking yet at the Sharon Carter. Okay,
there you go. Thanks, Foxfire.
But yeah, thanks, lady. Shout out to her in the chat. Love you. Anyways, what I'll say is that you got to think of too for the fact of one, we're seeing Rhodey at the end of the Civil War. Rhodey's going through physical therapy. Depending on where he is at the start of Infinity War, if he's been doing a lot better, because remember that he made him that experimental walking mechanism to kind of go on his waist to help him.
Yeah, I think he was fighting in the trailer too.
He might be able to. Yeah, he might be able to come back.
Boy, Tito the spotlight now. That's what I need. Give Tito the spotlight.
See, because we know that Rhodey wants to take over for him because he's always wanting to look at the Iron Man suits, even though he has the War Machine. And then, of course, you also got to think of that if Natalie Portman didn't walk away, she would have been the new Thor, because in the comics, of course, this is in the Ultimate Universe. In the Ultimate Universe, we have Lady Thor, but it still would have been a great aspect to pick up that the new god of thunder would have been Lady Thor instead of just kind of putting him away for a while. Like there's a lot of mantles that could have been passed over to a new era, to new actors that could add a lot of dynamics. Seeing Bucky as Cap is going to add a lot of big things. We still don't know what's fully set up, because think about what's coming up in the next few months alone. In February, we have Black Panther coming out, one of the biggest black superheroes that had such an impact that was so unnoticed. But we saw him in Civil War. He knocked it out of the park. We're having a great director who's doing it with nearly all black cast.
It's about to break records. It's about to break records.
Like
it's in February too. It's in February, man. It's just gonna clean house for box office, man. I'm telling you.
Oh God, yes.
It's gonna go crazy. It's gonna go crazy.
And it's great. It's phenomenal for that aspect, because the fact that with Black Panther alone, that opens up the doors to so many other big ethnic heroes that aren't getting their just due. And like Black Panther, I think is gonna set that standard on if we're gonna see it or not. Because everyone who was being shown that there was a video I think I posted up in the chat a while back, is that there was a guy who was showing and asking people if they heard about Black Panther, and when they didn't know that he was a black superhero. So when they were showing off the trailer for it, there's like people all over in like New York and in LA and Florida and a lot of big black communities that are getting excited because there's finally going to be a full movie about a full black superhero. And no, this isn't counting, not going back and thinking of Blade with Wesley Snipes, but one of the biggest characters, especially in Marvel, that's being brought out. And we talked about this too. Blade was another one that really kickstarted it all, because people forget that Blade was a part of Marvel.
Little known fact right there.
Yeah. And then I like the way what they push in this movie. Like I saw people hyped. I watch, 10 reaction videos sometimes, and I saw people just out jumping out. They were black, white, Indian. It didn't matter what race. They were hyped And people understand Black Panther is one of the strongest characters in Marvel. He's smart. This is smart. This is
he's one of the wealthiest too.
Yeah,
he's
so
one.
Because if you got to go away, you give it to Black Panther.
Exactly, because people forget that Wakanda is the sole country in the world that has adamantium, which one made Logan's skeleton, as well as helped to produce the metal needed for Cap's shield. They are the only country that has that in the world, and they are like this neo-future tribal society. They're futuristic, but still very heavily based in old African tribal society. And
it's like Naruto, but more futuristic.
Exactly. And the thing that they always forget about is that one, Black Panther is so strong as a character, but also as not just as a hero, but as a person, because he's the superhero first, because of the fact that that's what the title encompasses as being king. No, he is a king of all of Wakanda. Not only does he have to look out for the world, he has to look out for Wakanda.
He's also a diplomat too, though.
Yeah, like that's adds so much dynamic to him. Is that not only is he just trying to do what's right for the world and being a hero, but he also doing what's right to look out for his country and his people. That's why I love the fact that we're getting to see that, and seeing who they're getting Michael B. Jordan to play Killmonger. So one of the biggest flawed like antithesis to a character, like that is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they could have chosen anyone better for his rival. I'm really excited to see how they work in the movie and their chemistry works as well, and how the rival actually builds and develops throughout the movie. That's definitely gonna be cool.
Absolutely, like there's so much that's setting up from this year alone. Like, and then when you look at 2018, we have Infinity War in May, and we finally got that trailer that they showed off at Disney 20 back in the summer. And my God, was it worth the wait? Like, it's so phenomenal.
Was it the same trailer? I think
it was slightly different, because in the beginning of the Disney trailer, they showed the Guardians going to the area where the Asgardian ship was, and finding Thor there, and then him waking up and asking who they are. But they put that at the end of it. But for the rest of everything else, it was the same trailer.
Okay, cool.
But still, man, like that trailer was hype as hell to get set up for what's going to be coming this year.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of how they changed Thanos again, because he was more, I guess, he's more harking onto the comic book version of it, but now he's humanoid, I guess. He was more human than Titan in his new form, I guess, in his new trailer showed him. Because when they first showed up in the
I also think that part of it is because of the fact that, one, he's not wearing his helmet. He's not in his full, like, normal, like, battle gear. And just because of the fact that...
You also think another change, too. He's more purple than the other ones, too. His eyes are
yeah, like, they changed, like, each time we've seen Thanos, they've changed his skin. Yeah. And we know that it's always been changing each time. But I like the joke that they say that this one is, like, a mix of Josh Brolin and... why can't I think of his name from Die Hard?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of his name. Dang. Whatever, we know what you're referring to.
Yeah, but they say it's a mix of those two characters and how they look when you look at his head, and it makes me laugh every time.
yeah, I can see it there.
And look at Lady; she's all excited for that because May's going to be her birthday month. So, Infinity War is going to be her birthday present, ain't that right? But you know what?
I wanted them to hide Thanos. I would rather see Thanos at the
Bruce
end.
Willis, there it is.
Yeah, Bruce. Oh, yeah, I would rather have Thanos at the end. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really see. You just hear of him, just hear about him, and hear about him, and just leave his loop, have his goons come in, and he just come in and start smashing everybody at the end, because you're making two parts. So I don't want to see that. I hope you don't see Thanos until down there close to the end.
That's probably sprinklings of him throughout the movie.
I definitely exactly. I think that's the way they're going to do it, because I already told them that we already know that the fourth Avengers movie is already unnamed and everything else, and they cannot do the entire Infinity War in one movie, even if it's 3 hours. They can't do it.
No,
it needs to be done in two parts, because one, we still don't know if it's been confirmed yet if Ant-Man is going to be in this movie, because we know that the Ant-Man and Wasp movie is coming out later in the year. I believe it's in September or October. And then at the beginning of 2019, right after, they're finally bringing in my girl, my favorite. They're bringing in Captain Marvel. So with Captain Marvel there, she helps to expand the cosmic of the Marvel universe. But with that is that we have to think about, she had a big hand in helping to defeat Thanos. But we know that they're still missing, you know, 2 of the Infinity Stones. And part of that is because of the fact that they don't have the Life Stone, because of the fact that the theory is, like we said before, is right now that the holder on who has it is Adam Warlock. Yeah. And we know that they've teased him at the end of Guardians 2, but he's the biggest aspect of what it takes to defeat Thanos, because when he showed up, he was able to help injure Thanos after pretty much most of the Marvel superheroes had been killed at this point. And when Thanos was injured by him, he got the stone and used the time stone to rewind back before he was injured. But he ended up going back to before he attacked, and Adam Warlock and Adam Warlock and Iron Man remembered, and that helped Iron Man to prepare everyone else for when Thanos was going to attack. Because we've already seen that when on what happened to Iron Man back in Iron Man 3, that he was already having images and flashes of possible outcomes for the future that has him freaked out. So we already know that he's been aware of something that's been coming, but wasn't sure of it.
Okay.
But there's so.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say no. So everything's been going up, building up for that. So we're gonna see a lot of changes and possibilities on what's gonna be coming.
She's gonna have her movie after the second Infinity War movie, right? Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. She's gonna be coming in after. She's gonna be coming in after the first Infinity War movie.
Okay. Well, their whole roster's gonna be a little mixed up right now because they just acquired the X-Men 2 and Fantastic Four, so they might try to find a way to weave them into the story as well. So I'm excited to see how they do.
True.
Reed Richards was one of the other people I think that remembered the future.
Yeah, Reed Richards was one of the other big ones, as well as if you look in 2, which was Cap and Doctor Strange. Because remember that that the 6 of them, it's Doctor Strange, Captain America, Iron Man, Reed Richards,
Professor X for Illuminati, right?
Yeah, the Illuminati, because they all have a different Infinity Stone, and they have it all hidden away, and only bring it together in dire uses when they need to break out the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
So with them,
go ahead, man.
I was saying with them, with Disney acquiring Fox, and we still got to see how that's going to turn out, because they have the rights now, but there's still the talks on if it's going to be allowed, because it would give Disney a monopoly, which it's basically been for a while. But I mean, at the same time,
that's nothing new. So
yeah, I was about to say it's nothing new. They've had a stranglehold on basically everything, everywhere for like.
They're like a 10 years too late right now.
Yeah, for like the past 20 years. But I mean, at this point, it's like anything that Disney gets a hand in is going to make money. They're going to turn something out of it. So it's not like it's going to be a bad thing, because they're always putting out more stuff and feeding right back into everything. So
yeah, but going for Lady Far saying in the chat, there's definitely a lot of rumors going around where they're going to favor in, but just got to wait and see how they do it. I'm just more excited to see how they put the Fantastic Four in, because I've been waiting to get a good movie for them for a while.
Yeah, they need to do a good Fantastic Four. I need.
They're probably gonna be younger too.
Dr. Doom. I need Dr. Doom.
Exactly. So, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because Dr. Doom, dude, has such a huge implication on storylines, especially for Marvel.
They definitely can fix X-Men, Lady Crossfire.
You're right, Lady. They probably can fix it. And like, here's the thing. The thing is, the new kids that they have for the new generation of X-Men aren't bad at all. All of the characters they have aren't bad. It's the way that they wrote the story. Like, Days of Future Past wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't bad. Apocalypse was awful, and that's sad because it was setting up. It was because of the fact that with Apocalypse, they didn't write it well. They didn't set up Apocalypse well enough, and just the writing for it was just awful. And it was a horrible way to introduce the the new X-Men, because I really like the casting and the people that they have to play them, especially with what they're setting up now with the new music.
Hopefully they do the Dark Phoenix. Hopefully they do the Phoenix movie.
Yeah, but see, they rushed it, and they should have never did this. Apocalypse should be on the next one. It shouldn't be going to no Dark Phoenix. It should go. We should be seeing Apocalypse in the next movie, and you would have had Sinister setting everything up in the background.
He's too big for the second movie.
Sinister should have been the man. And introducing these new characters. Sinister, even though the timeline is messed up, Sinister should have been the man. I agree. What he did in the TV shows and the comic books. He said everything. He was the right-hand man of Apocalypse. Apocalypse should. You might just see Apocalypse waking up or something like that in the last one, and the kids that just gets up like, oh, what's going on? That's what I don't understand. I mean, they try to rush it out. I know it's a different timeline now and everything.
And I agree. They did try to rush it out, and that was what it was. Because Apocalypse has such big implications. Because he is the first mutant. He is such a big villain. Besides, of course, Magneto and everything else with the Brotherhood. Apocalypse, but Apocalypse is such a big villain for the X-Men that when they were setting up the new series, they put out that too quickly. Now it's going to be them hard pressed to figure out what they're going to do to set up next, or who they can really go for next. Now they're trying to rush straight into Dark Phoenix.
They can still go for Sinister. They could set up a Gambit movie. They could bring Gambit and show everything how he's connected to Sinister. Yeah. They can still do Sinister.
But see, Marvel, I'll put this way: we're not going to see a crossover for about a year because the agreement hasn't gotten approved yet. Yeah. So you're not going to see I think they're going to just have, okay, you know what? We have Deadpool, we have X-Men, we have all that. We're going to leave that over there. We're going to leave that alone. So we might, like you say, the Fantastic Four, okay, we might bring them because they're more kid friendly. You know what I'm saying? Reed Richards on cuss and fuss and all the other stuff. Yeah. I'll leave one part on
I think if they
one end and the other one. It's got to leave because don't mess it up. Some stuff like how Marvel does with the Netflix. Let it do the same thing. Don't bring Disney. Don't tune nobody down. Don't tune them.
Yeah, like X-Men is like more. It's like their way of trying to hit DC because it's way darker.
Yeah, the stuff they deal with. God, bro, you can't show little kids though.
And I think, and that's the interesting thing is even still the X-Men movies have always been, a little bit dark and always been 13. They haven't been PG or anything like that. They've always been a little bit more mature. They were never rated R, but they still had those aspects that made them a little bit more older for teens to understand. And I think that with the way that they're doing the new generation, they can bring it back in because you got to think as the generations that passed on, what's starting to become more understood by the younger ones has been shifting every time. And it's definitely a generational thing. But with that aspect, I think that they can move the X-Men over to be able to still have that younger appeal, but still be able to tell those more mature stories because they do get into a lot of mature aspects. And like, if you look at the Dark Phoenix alone, what has stood over the years with Jean Grey, with the Phoenix Force, like that's some messed up stuff.
Oh, definitely, man. Like, they can't tone that down or you're just gonna ruin the story for that.
Exactly. And I definitely think that if they do try to bring it into the MCU, it's gonna be after Infinity War, and it's probably gonna have to wait until after they either do a reset when Thanos either goes back in time, depending on what they do, or they're gonna have it on that universe, multiverse BS that always exists because they might end up crossing over and finding out about the X-Men. Because right now in the MCU, we know the X-Men don't exist because of the fact that that's why they pushed the Inhumans. Mm-hmm. So how they do it now is going to depend. Like if they bring out Reed Richards and them, it would be great because Doctor Doom does have a big implication on a lot of what goes on in the Marvel Universe. Look at the Secret Wars alone, right? When they had that great villain.
Did he start that shit? Did he start that?
Yeah, exactly. You did not have it without him.
Secret Wars was because of Doctor Doom. Because what happened, Cyrus, is that there was a big villain that was simply known as the Maker, who had come out and started just like fighting all the Marvel heroes and just completely annihilating them. And Dr. Doom said, I have a plan that we may be able to do to be able to defeat him. I'll go back in time to discover him.
Like, real quick. Lady Fox, just dip out real quick from the podcast. We'll say thank you, Lady Fox, for coming out and listening to us. And also thank you for subscribing. Also get some new viewers in here.
Much love, lady.
Thank
you. Thanks for coming out. Like, go on, man.
But I was saying, like, if you look at Dr. Doom, when that happened, he stated that he was going to go back in time and discover who the Maker was. Well, what he ended up doing was he ended up going too far back in the past, going to the beginning of the universe and meeting with one of the Watchers. And he stayed with the Watcher going through time from the beginning of the universe, leaving little hints to this cult that was ended up being the foundations for the Maker. And he comes back to the future time after millions and billions of years of going through time and finding out that he was the Maker the whole time. He ended up creating this cult and becoming so powerful. He basically had more power than the Watchers, because he had been there since the beginning of time and left the implants of his cult.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like Secret Wars could not happen without Dr. Doom.
Shit, not gonna read that. Hey, make sure I read that now. Jeez.
Like I don't know which one are you talking. Are you talking about the one where the worlds start colliding? Are you talking about that Secret War?
Yeah, that one's leading into Battle World.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're gonna throw a twist when they come out in movies. They gotta throw a twist. They're not gonna go directly off of everything. They're gonna throw a little twist. They're gonna do something. That's all. They're gonna do.
They gotta put a little twist into it.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna do something.
There's even a story where Dr. Doom goes to Wakanda and steals all the vibranium. I don't know.
Yeah. Like there's so many implications.
Doom is sinister. That man is crafty. Doom is smart and crafty. He always wanted to have a one step ahead of somebody. He's crafty, but then you can bring with Doom. Doom need to have his own movie.
I agree.
He really does.
They have to at some point.
Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's because I love DC and Marvel's straight to DVD anime movies. I love them. Yep. Let's give them and say this is the origin of him and why him and Richard don't get along and stuff like that. And they're one of the smartest people on the planet. And
mm-hmm.
you can do something. You can actually have a villain movie, and and he's crafty.
And we're seeing, and you're not wrong, because we're seeing that now with the Venom movie that they're doing for the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but see, Venom is like a neutral to me. Yeah, Venom Venom don't got no loyalty, because if Spidey or what you call it, what's that? What's the one with the red? That symbiote. Carnage. He'll turn in a minute. He'll go mess with Spidey. Like, I don't like you, but I so don't like Carnage.
Yeah.
I would like to see him and Carnage go head up in the movie.
See, I think they're gonna set up for it, because with one, you're not wrong on the fact that Venom has been kind of neutral, but at the same time he's been more on the villain aspect. But the issue is that Venom, the symbiote, was attached to Peter and bonded with Peter. Then when he found Eddie Brock had this obsession with Peter because of everything that Eddie Brock felt that Peter had took from him and kind of wronged him by. So with them combining, Venom was created with this obsession for Spider-Man because of the fact of what they had together on their obsession with Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So that's where Venom's villainous intake is, that he does it all to get the attention and feed into this obsession with Spider-Man. Now, when you add Carnage into it, the symbiote that Carnage comes from has always been crazy. And when it bonded with a serial killer that was on death row, all it wanted to do, it was crazy. All it wanted to do was at that point was just literally kill everything, literally for fun. That's its whole point of existence, was to kill everything for fun.
Man.
Yeah, I'm just how they're gonna do this Venom movie, because they were like, after starting Homecoming, they were really like rushing right into it. So let's go see what they do.
Well, I mean, I have good expectations for the Venom movie, because the fact that they're having Tom Hardy play Venom. Tom Hardy,
he's a dope.
Exactly. If if anyone can play like a messed up villain that has an obsession, it would be Tom Hardy. We've seen him in all sorts of messed up movies. We saw him in American History X, and now we saw him in the Dark Knight series. We saw him as Bane. Like,
but when he played that,
when he played both himself,
when he played himself twice,
that one.
Yeah, that means you know how to play a that you got to be like a schizophrenic mind to do that.
What's the movie with Shia LaBeouf too?
When he played the big brother.
Lawless.
They were Lawless when they was
that was
pushing moonshine. Yeah, that was
Lawless.
And then the movie when he was the MMA fighter, the runaway military guy. He's going around fighting people.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, like Tom Hardy is a well-rounded actor and can do intense roles like that. And I think Venom is such a great role for him. Like, especially with what Sony's doing right now with the Spider-Verse. If they continue to make the work with Marvel, because they've seen the success of Homecoming. Like, Homecoming was such a knockout this summer or this year. Like, honestly, like the fact of how well Homecoming did, they cannot deny what Marvel's able to do when they let them do what they have to work with, because they know what appeals, they know what works. And if they continue to do that, the implications of what they can bring out for the villains, like seeing the Venom movie, and then we're seeing the animated movie Enter the Spider-Verse. We're getting to see all the other big Spider-Men that are across the multiverse. Spider-Gwen, Spider-2099. We're getting to see Miles Morales. We're probably going to see Spider-Gwen, Silk, Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman, Spider-Noir. Like, there's so many implications of what that can bring out. Like, if they just let it go. And like, I understand they want to expand on the Spider-Man universe, something they weren't able to do with the original 3, as well as with the Amazing Spider-Man series. Now with what they have with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Marvel, it's like, yes, I get it. You want to do your own solo movies to build up your Spider universe. Work with Marvel. Yeah, it's just, but it's like they need to think about it. It's like, if you want to do these, let Marvel still have a hand in helping them. Let them work with you, so that way, one, your movies do well and they can stay in the MCU and have bigger implications. I get it. Some people want an all-villain movie. Like, there's so many big things that we've seen and change and how people are. Yes, we saw how people always wanted to know what the villain is and what the good guy is. But I think that over time, we've slowly started getting more into that aspect of that neutral gray area, especially with a lot of big dramas. Look at Dexter. When that was big, we see it in House of Cards, and a lot of people are starting to find more enjoyment in that gray area of morality.
Yeah, it's definitely been on the hit.
And with a character like Venom, like that can have such big implications for what you can do with villain characters to have their own standalone movies. I mean, we're seeing it in DC because we're seeing it with Black Adam before we're even getting the Shazam movie.
Wait, we getting the Black Adam movie before Shazam?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
Yeah, dude.
Well, how do I miss that piece of news? But okay.
And that's one I'm excited for, because one, The Rock is playing Black Adam, so that's gonna be fucking dope.
That's probably the biggest reason why I had to get Black Adam first, because of The Rock's playing it.
Well, they're gonna kind of show Black Adam in a different light on why he does what he does, because they're trying to show him that he's not really a villain. He's very anti-heroic. However, he just collides a lot with Shazam.
It's gonna be interesting seeing Rock play Black Adam, because you look at Rock, he has more of not saying you more like enthusiastic personality, more easygoing, stuff like that. For him to play Black Adam is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but if you remember Doom, he was kind of serious in that. He played a decent role, but I don't know. Maybe he could do it because Black Adam, his main goal is just to keep his people safe. That's all. Yep. That's his main goal.
All right, because I don't know much about Black Adam, but I was going off Rock's been like.
That's why he really hates Shazam, because he's always putting his people in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of it is because of the fact that he doesn't realize that Shazam is a kid. He still thinks it's the ancient wizard that gave Billy his powers.
Yeah. But to me, I don't know, because when I played Injustice, it's like Black Adam was an opportunist. You know what I'm saying? He gonna go ride who hot.
Yeah,
You know, but I know that's a different YouTube. But it's like he gonna ride who's hot, like Superman. I'm riding with you, Batman. You hot? I might mess with you.
You gotta remember, and in Justice, he rode with Superman because that man was going. He was going to go to the. He was going to go to the heart of his people and destroy that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the rock is called. Oh, the rock of it. I forgot.
Eternity? Something like that.
I think it's like the Rock of Eternity or something. He was going to go there and destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. But
how could he destroy it if his weakness is magic, though?
No, not magic is Superman's weakness, but not Black Adam's. That's why he was going with them, because Black Adam could destroy it.
Oh, okay. I thought Superman was going to do it. Okay.
Yeah. So that puts out a lot of big things here. So that's going to be good. And that's why I think a lot of people forget that Shazam is a big equalizer to Superman, because Shazam is one of the few people that can actually really hurt Superman, because of the fact that Shazam's powers are all magic based.
Yeah,
it's his one weakness is that, yes, besides being in a red sun, Superman's biggest weakness is magic.
Is it like the new Martian Manhunter can almost rival Superman? He's like getting very close to his league.
Wait, what'd you say?
The new Martian Manhunter, is he like getting close to the Superman league as far as strength?
Martian Manhunter is really, really strong, but his one weakness is terrible. Like, it's completely
fire. Yeah.
You know, is that he has a fear of being on fire, and then
and fire can be anywhere. Like, it's,
I do agree.
It was a scene in Justice, the comic books. It was Wonder Woman and Superman versus Manhunter, and Wonder Woman was basically talking shit to Manhunter. He was basically telling her, like, you forgot how strong I am. I'm the equivalent to Superman. And he went inside, like he changed form and like went inside her body and shit. And basically, Superman had to use his laser eyes to kill him.
Yeah, it's something else, man.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really exciting for not just like Batman Ninja. That's completely different take what they're doing.
Yeah, the Batman Ninja I'm excited for, because one,
it's just something different. That's the biggest thing for me. It's just something different.
Like I said, when we saw that trailer, I literally thought it was a joke. I was like, dude, seriously, a legit Batman anime? All right, you're teasing me. And then as soon as I saw every major like media outlet, saw IGN and GameSpot and others big talking about it, I'm just like, wait, this is for real? I was like, it's not a joke?
Yeah.
The only thing I like about it is the CG. That's it.
Oh, his art style is dope though for this.
Yeah, well, see, I love what I love. I want more anime or straight to DVD, because they're more raw. Like when I heard Batman cuss for the first time in one of the movies.
Well, we're gonna be getting that, because we saw that when they finally did the Killing Joke story, which was,
I didn't like that one. I didn't like the end. That was some bull. I didn't like the end.
Well, a lot of people don't like the ending because, one, the creator who wrote the original storyline for the Killing Joke said that he even hates his ending because of the fact that it was very up in the air, and that
it was stupid. They just sit there and laugh at each other.
But that also leads to theories. That also means that he finally got to Batman and went crazy. So.
Exactly, and no, that's what a lot of the big thoughts is that when you hear them both laughing at the end, is that it's Batman killing the Joker. That's the big thought about the way that the Killing Joke ends. He finally made him kill. That's the whole thing. Yeah. And that's where it gets down to, is that the thought is that when you hear Batman laughing at the end, is that he finally breaks Batman and Batman kills the Joker.
Those DC anime straight to DVDs are amazing. Like the Justice League Judas Contract.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Man,
yeah. Man, we're gonna start it back up again.
We're talking about that because
I love Damian and all that. Damian is the man. Yeah, Damian is straight up the man, and I'm glad that they put him with the
Teen Titans.
with the other kids. Now with the Titans, leave that. You know what I'm saying? And let Nightwing and Star. They got Star. Old girl looking fine as hell. You know what I'm saying?
See, I like. And
uh,
speaking of
let
how
them-
Starfire is, the sexy girl that she is that I like that the way that they're doing it in the shows is that one, we're seeing Starfire's new character design where she looking straight sexy. However, she doesn't have that slutty personality that they've been putting in the comics. Is that she's still naive, but she knows how to use her seduction and her body to
she got Nightwing wrapped around his finger, and I'm
but in here they're showing that there's still that very big, you know, love between Nightwing and Starfire, and that she's still naive to a lot of things, and I like that because that's the personality that really fits Starfire instead of just having to be this, you know, slut. That's not right for her.
Yo, it's not like Loki and Holo.
Yeah, but then you see Damian growing up. I like that. You know, Damian.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that time when him and Nightwing got down with each other. That was epic.
And I like that too because we've seen that over the past few Batman movies. We saw it with Son of Batman. Then we saw it. Yeah, we saw them with Talia and with Rachel Cole. And then when we saw it with the Alcult, when we saw him Damian with Owlman and saw that, like we saw Damian really growing, and you know him and Dick's personalities and the way they always clash with each other. I love it because one, Damian is one of the few Robins that have actually been able to put Dick on his ass, but Dick will still go all out and can mess Damian up when he realizes that Damian is just trying to go for raw power and he's not always thinking. Although Damian is smart because that's one thing that Ra's al Ghul instilled into him. But seeing the way that they're doing to the new Teen Titans,
Dick can beat him, but he's like Damian loves to. He goes for kill shots. He really goes for a lot of kill shots.
Exactly, and that's the difference is that when Dick fights with Damian, he outthinks Damian and puts him on his ass, but then Damian gets pissed and goes straight like primal and goes for that kill.
Perfect example, Injustice. He killed my man. No?
Yeah. Nope. And then Batman said, "Why don't you look at me? I'm your son." He's like, "You're no son of mine. You killed my son because of what he did to Dick. Because despite that Damian is Bruce's blood, none will be comparable to Dick for him. Because Dick, well, no, because he saw Dick as his true son. Like over time, I think
more like a brother. Because Nightwing, Nightwing, like I got to do my own thing. And then if you even see it in the movies, Nightwing be sitting there giving him the bit, and Nightwing was like, "I'm back in this damn cave again."
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, Bruce sees Dick as his son, like as his true son. But the thing is, Dick didn't want to always live in Bruce's shadow as Robin and Batman. He said that I want to be equal, so he went out and did his own thing, and that's when he took on the Nightwing persona. Because people forget that the name Nightwing was based on a Kryptonian superhero as well as a symbol, but he adapted it so he could still be a part of the Bat family.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's cool.
Yeah, that's just his first son. Damian's his second.
Yeah. I was like, he looks out for Jason Todd and Tim Drake, but he doesn't see them as his kids like he does with Damian and Dick. And even Barbara and Stephanie, he doesn't look at them like his kids.
Isn't Tim like the smartest though?
They just the Batman.
Because what was that one? What was that one when all the Batmans came together? It was a black Batman. It was Damian. It was all of them all in one. And I forgot who they were fighting. It was a straight DVD movie.
The kidnapped Batman. It was Talia al Ghul.
And
then they went all in, and you had different Batmans coming out. And you start seeing them.
That's why I'm excited for the Batman Ninja movie, is because with that movie, we're going to get to see all of the Bat family together. We get to see a samurai Batman, a samurai Damian, which is going to go straight up ninja style ham. We're going to see a samurai Nightwing. We get to see Red Robin, and we get to see Red Hood because Jason Todd and Tim Drake are both alive. We don't know if we're going to see Barbara Gordon and Stephanie as the Batgirls.
Oracle. But don't one of them turn to Oracle? because she got hurt.
Barbara became purple, and Stephanie was the second Batgirl.
That's the one with the freckles. The young one that was with the freckles.
No, the young red-haired girl with the freckles, that was in the Dark Knight series, and she became the new Robin. Stephanie was the Batgirl that had the purple and yellow, and not the black and yellow that Barbara had.
Okay, and then the other one was Batgirl, right? Was the Batwoman, right? That was the one that was she was shooting people like Nightwing. I mean, not like Red Hood.
Yeah, that was Batwoman. Yeah,
okay,
because she had the black and red costume, and she had Batboy as her sidekick instead of Robin.
Oh, because she was giving the business, because Batman in the anime moves, he was keeping with everybody.
She was up there busting at people.
Yeah, she was.
No, because I even like what Marvel did with when Ultron took over everything, and you had the kids. You know, Iron Man was old. I want to see stuff like that, like a different. I want to see like a different personality.
A different.
I want to see something different, like a different universe, like the one that went straight to DVD. Iron Man is watching the kids, and you see Thor's daughter. You see who's that? You see okay. They had where
I think I remember Captain America. It was years ago.
Okay, Captain America and what you call it? The girl. You know what I'm saying? They had a kid, and then they got a Captain America. A little June. They had to go against Ultron. They finally, and Hulk was old, and you still see how strong Hulk is. I can't think of it's the New Age or something. It comes on and off on Netflix. But Iron Man is old, and you still got Vision, and Vision is like his little secret thing. But they're like in the Arctic, and that's the only reason Ultron can't find them until one day the kids end up coming up on them, and they see their parents, because he made robot like Iron Robot. He made the Iron Avengers. And they was in Stark. They was like the backup of the backup of the backup.
Oh, I know what TV show you're talking about, but I can't.
Next Avengers. It's Next Avengers.
Yeah, the Next Avengers. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's the Next Avengers. Yeah, it was the Next Avengers.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, that one was really.
I would like more spinoffs like that. I would like to see more like that, like a different universe.
A straight to DVD I would like to see is Old Man Logan. I would love to see something like that, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
You would have the Hulk gang. That shit would be amazing, man.
Oh, dude, the fucking Children of Hulk. That would be something else.
The Hillbilly Hulks, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's up, everybody? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Give a big love here to the Megaman himself.
Got the Grizzly in here now. Let's go.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm over here sweating bullets, man. My Sooners was over there dominating. Now they over here. It's a close ass game, man. Go against the Bulldogs, but it is what it is. Hopefully, what I'm saying, our OU Sooners can get to that national championship.
It's two games it's 2 games at the same time. I'm trying to read my Twitter line.
No, it's just I don't think there's any other bowl games playing. I know that.
Okay, you and Georgia playing. Okay.
Yeah. OU and Georgia playing right now. OU was up by 17 at the first half. Anyway, we talk about that on a sports podcast. We talking about some comics, man. What's going on? What's everybody? What's happening?
Oh man, just talking about some of the big movies and what the futures can hold because of them. Right now, we were talking about movies that we want to see that come out on DVD, and he'll talk about Old Man Logan, seeing the Hulk children come out.
Oh man. As for me, anything that has to do with the X-Men and that universe, I'm a huge X-Men fan. My favorite individual Marvel character is Captain America. A lot of people might think that's odd, but I'm a huge fan. Like, I'm building up my game room, and I got like Cap stuff everywhere. So it's for him, I've got the comics where Cap passes away, and then he passes the torch to Falcon, and he gets the shield and all of that. I thought that was a pretty cool story. But as for me, if anything that's related with the X-Men that they pass down, because it's just so rich with information and just with so many people that's involved. I mean, there's just really no set character piece. One person that I would actually really want to know more about is Omega Red. You don't really see enough of Omega Red.
And you mentioned that, and that's a good aspect because that's all going to be tied into the X-Men stuff, and especially with we were talking earlier about the acquisition for Fox from Disney, that we don't see a lot on Project X. We don't get to see a lot of the other people because that's where, you know, Logan was from. That's where Deadpool was from. And, you know, we see Omega Red and some of the others from the Weapon X project.
Yeah, because, Alpha Flight, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Omega Red is one of the interesting villains, if you want to even call him that, from the Weapon X project that doesn't really get a lot of talk. He hasn't even really been in a lot of the X-Men TV shows.
Right. Well, he's kind of a difficult character to kind of analyze because, I mean, he's, you know, you really have to do him right because of, you know, the fanboys that are really strong on, you know, things got to be authentic. You can't just come and have him look a certain way, kind of like how Michael Bay did with the Transformers. And you got to have him look somewhat like the original Omega Red in some way, shape, or form in order for them to be appeased by it. And you can't have him to be some goofy sounding Russian dude, even though he is Russian. You know, you have to give him some, you know, you got to do him well, have him well-rounded, well-made.
Yeah. So I mean, we got our goofy sounding Russian with the way that they're doing Colossus because they had that awkward Russian English accent on him.
Yeah.
But Omega Red isn't that awkward. He's very serious.
Right. Right. You know, and I think he's one of Wolverine's strongest opponents. I mean, I know he's more of a Colossus you know, rival, but because they're both Russian, but him and Wolverine's been scrapping it out there for a while too. So yeah, I would like to see a lot of Omega Red. Like if they did do a little side story about him, let people get more familiar with him. That I think that would be pretty dope.
Yeah, we were talking about we want to see more movies with some of the villains because we were talking about the Venom movie and how Venom is a villain, but he kind of sits in that neutral aspect because he's done a lot back and forth, but he's really a villain just because of his obsession with Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, but I definitely agree. And we were just talking right now that we were talking about the new, you know, Batman movies that were coming out. Some of the last ones with straight DVDs because of the way that they're handling the DC animated movies better than the actual live actions. And talking about, you know, the new Batman Ninja and some of the other big animated movies that are going to be coming out that are going to be really more definitely rated R. We're going to see that with Batman versus Jack the Ripper and the Gotham by Gaslight movie. Like that's going to be something else because we're getting to see the noir universe because it's Bat Noir and he's going up against Jack the Ripper. There's no way they can tell a story of him going against Jack the Ripper without having it be bloody in any aspect.
Right. Yeah, there's no way. And I mean, it's just like old for, you know, the old Batman, what is he called? The Dark Knight. I mean, you have to have the Dark Knight to be bloody as well. So, because he kind of changes up. Or when you do the alternate universe where Batman has a gun and he's just shooting people, that's wild. So, you know, I love how DC has bounced back from from Batman v Superman. I know for me, I didn't look at it as atrocious as a lot of people did, but it wasn't its best showing. I think that they rushed to try to get the Avengers, to try to compete against the Avengers by bringing the Justice League in too early instead of just making individual stories for all the characters to get a build in for the fan base to get adjusted to. But I like Justice League. I thought Justice League was really cool. Flip was saying something about how he felt about the Batman, how Ben Affleck played as Batman in that movie. And at first I was like, y'all, you're being too critical, but I kind of felt what he was saying. There was times that Batman seemed too, he seemed like he was unsure of himself, even though there was, in the comics or in the animation series, he did get that way because he's fighting shit that's supernatural. He's not dealing with, the Jokers or anything like that. So, but he almost felt defeated at sometimes. So it's hard to kind of grasp on these characters and make it, especially when you had to change the directors and things like that. So, live action, it's a lot harder to get together than it is to do animation because you can just do whatever you kind of want to with animation.
Well, at the same time, as we've seen with the animation stuff, is that they're doing a little bit better of keeping that feel because they've been going in a lot of different directions, especially if you look at the Justice League. My biggest issue is that it wasn't the Batman that we saw. Yeah, he may be old and grizzled, but they made him awkward in the way that he communicated and talked to the rest of the team. He was never that awkward. He never had an issues. He was always charismatic, but he was always very stern with people, especially when it came to this. That changed a lot of the dynamic and things. And then of course you had the way that Alfred kept pressuring him into trying to talk to Diana and basically get her on a date, basically. But like it was a much different direction, and you could see where it was Snyder's vision, and then who was it that they brought in? Will Wheaton's, or not Will Wheaton, Joss Whedon's vision. And you can kind of see where they get serious in the action sequences, and then where they get in the more jokey kind of conversations, and where those directions were kind of going, who was being on who. And it's just right now, yeah, they did definitely rush it, but at the same time, it comes into the aspect of no one knows where they have things set. No one knows really what they want, and I don't know if they really are certain of where they want to have or go with the story, because right now they're kind of all over the place. And we've already heard talks of the way that they're going to do the Flash movie is that they're going to do Flashpoint Paradox to basically be their big reset, because they're just like, well, we need to change everything and get it back on track.
Yeah. So that's yeah, kind of do the Days of Future Past type of deal, which is smart. You know, I don't want to let any information out from the Justice League movie, but you know, the very end credits was really dope, and I like that they're taking that approach as well to implement those guys into the universe. But yeah, I think for like supervillains, kind of like for like Deathstroke and all of those guys, I think that they have to have somewhat in Venom. They need to have their own type of movies to kind of get the you know, kind of get those people involved. I think that was one of the best things about the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, was that even though it was a Batman movie, but it was Joker's movie more than anybody. You see what I'm saying?
We got to see how Joker really established him, because you were seeing both sides of the fence. You were seeing Batman as he was trying to build up to that, but you're also seeing what Joker was doing and where they started coming to collide with each other. I agree. They definitely need to set that up, because we didn't get that with Steppenwolf and Justice League movie at all. Like,
no, Steppenwolf started off to be pretty damn epic. I was like, oh, this dude ain't no joke, you know, and then he kind of, you know, you didn't get enough of him because they were trying to build up the story for everybody else to how they combined. And another thing you know, minor complaint that I had is that you just didn't feel that Aquaman was as powerful as he really is as well, you know. I mean, there was some hit and misses, but of course there was a direction of how they were trying to do the movie. But you know, overall, to go back to your original point, yeah, it would be great. I think that, you know, you would think that maybe WB would go and link up with some of these directors from these animated movies and try to implement some of those storylines or visions into the movies, because I think that would go a lot further and get a lot of people excited for
exactly. And we've seen that too, because look at the way that they did the Justice League Dark movie. They brought in Constantine, they brought in Swamp Thing, they brought in Zatanna, they brought in a lot of the supernatural aspect and got to tell that story. And you know, yeah, it was all around Batman and his thoughts on it all, but you know, it was all magic and all that. And that's kind of where the Justice League Dark comes into play. They handle the supernatural and the magical that everyone else can't necessarily take on.
Yeah, I agree.
And when you're looking at the stories, like this year has been a solid year for the live action DC shows. The live action DC shows are still doing well compared to the movies. We saw the finales back in the beginning of spring of this year for Arrow, for Flash, for the Legends, for Supergirl. And then they came back really, really big in the beginning of the fall back in October. And they've been doing phenomenal. They just had their mid-season finale back at the beginning of December, and they're going strong. They still are. A lot of people saying that Arrow for them had kind of fell off after like the third season, but a lot of people are really liking what they did with this season, and it's brought a lot of people back. The Flash is still doing really good, still been really lighthearted, and they brought in the Thinker, which is a good villain for the Flash. It's not another speedster.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, because it's not another speedster. It's not, it's not Zoom. It's not Reverse Flash. It's not anything that we've seen before. It's a different villain. We've seen the Rogues Gallery from Heat Wave and Captain Cold and Golden Glider and all the other villains that he's taken on over the time. But the big bad isn't another speedster like we're used to seeing, which is great because it really makes things a lot different. And, they're still doing a lot of big teases for a lot of the villains in the universe and everything that's set up. We have Gypsy coming from one of the other universes, which is vibes opposite and one of the other universes. We've got to see the Council of Wells, which is a big aspect from the comics, which I thought was great. And, at the end of the mid-season finale for the Legends, we get to see the return of Constantine, and it's Matt Ryan, who was the Constantine live actor from the live action show, who was probably who by hands down has to be the best interpretation of Constantine I have ever seen. Like, it's nothing against Keanu Reeves or anything, but the Constantine movie that he and Shia LaBeouf did was good in its own right, but it's not the Hellblazer.
It's not Constantine. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
it's
not Constantine. It's not the Hellblazer, but when we saw Matt Ryan's interpretation of him, he fits his character so well from that persona, that very crude British accent that he has, and just that kind of, I'm just a dabbler in the dark arts. He's that very snide kind of personality that he's not serious, but he knows what he has to do. He fits that. And when that show got canceled on NBC, it was sad, but it wasn't going to fit on their network. I don't know why it was put on their network. And I'm glad, the CW picked it up. However, they weren't doing anything with it right now. They weren't saying they were going to do a second season, but they had brought them on for that crossover back about 2 years ago. And that was such a loved episode. A lot of people got hyped after this, and they already know that CW is giving him an animated series right now on their CW Seed alongside Vixen and some of the other shows that they have going on, or a lot of the other heroes that they're establishing through the universe. And Matt Ryan's still doing the voice. And I told him that even though he's doing the animated right now, that still brings a lot of aspect for him to come back and reprise his live action role, because he's also doing the voice for the animated movies coming out from Warner Brothers. So he's sticking with the character. He's not just giving it up like a lot of other people, which is great, because that gives him so much room to keep that character going the way that he deserves to be going.
Yeah, I agree. Where's 100? I seen him in here. You got quiet.
Yeah, it looks like he got all quiet up there. And Supra Gee looks like he's no longer having any tech issues over there. He got hopped back in.
Yeah, come on in.
Oh, yeah.
So what movies are you guys, did you already talk about that? Because I know I came in late, but the movies that's coming up, you guys anticipating these movies? Or
absolutely. We're talking about how straight out the gate, man, there's so much coming straight out the gate. We got Black Panther in February. We got, right after that, we got Infinity War coming up. A lot of the other big movies, supposedly in the summer still, we still have the Han Solo movie that's supposed to be coming out. I think personally it's going to get pushed back to December, but that's supposed to be coming out then.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Supra Gee.
We did hear you.
Sweet.
No, we hear you. We hear you now. Yeah, go ahead. All right.
Well, like this year alone, there's been a lot of knockouts. And even with movies, like not necessarily just comic movies and big movies, there was some big things that were a surprise. Like I finally saw Get Out like a few days ago, and I could see why that movie was so loved, because it definitely was not what people thought it was going to be. I could see why they said that the trailer and everything that they tried to make you think it was a trip, because it was definitely not that.
No, yeah, that movie was a trip. I seen it a couple of months ago. during the summer. Well, it's been about almost half a year ago, but over 6 months ago. But when I seen it, I was expecting this movie might be, because there's people that always tell me about certain movies, and then when I actually get to see them, I'm like, oh man, this movie wasn't all that. But my son, he kind of gets me into watching some of these movies or whatever, and he was really like, this movie's going to trip you out. So I'm like, all right, let's see. And yeah, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? It was well thought of. It was well thought out, I should say. It was cool. It wasn't your typical type of movie. It had the creep factor, like what the hell is going on, and then it just makes people, maybe be a little reluctant on interracial relationships, man. It's wild,
what movie are we talking about?
Get Out.
Oh, Get Out is the shit. I love that movie. I watched that movie I watched it 4 times in theaters.
Yeah, and that movie.
Yeah,
was
that's a
great.
fantastic movie.
See, because 1, 2 is we got to see Jordan Peele really, really show his stuff. Like we've already seen what him and them did on his show, with Key and Peele. But seeing him finally break out, write his own story, direct it, and everything, seeing him break out to that kind of success, that's great. And he has so much potential to do a lot. And I think that if anyone could do a lot of big things, it's definitely going to be Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Well, did you see his team got picked up to do the live action Akira movie?
Yeah, I heard that his team got picked to do the live action Akira movie, which I think that if anyone has the right direction, and because one, we already know he's come out that he's a big fan of Akira. We know he likes anime and a lot of big stuff like that. So I think if anyone can understand the essence of what made that movie what it was, I think he would be the best, because remember that there's been talks about that for the past 15, 20 years to do a live action Akira movie, but no one wants to do it because everyone's afraid to touch it.
It's so hard. Even though Jordan, it's still hard. I don't see that doing well as a live action as of now.
I think that a lot of the big visuals is able to be done, because think about the very end in the stadium scene in Akira. That before, even especially look at the 90s, could not have been done well, because we saw they would have to do too much clay and heavily animated. We saw how that looks in the Mortal Kombat movie, because look at how they made Goro look back then.
Hey man, don't talk bad about my Mortal Kombat movie. I love my Mortal Kombat.
I'm not saying it's bad. I love the movie, but I'm saying that
I went to the theaters as a kid.
I think we need some more time. That's it, because I don't see it doing well. I don't.
I don't know.
I don't see it doing well.
I think it could be done, because, like I said, I think we're at a point where the technology and the way that we could do editing and sort of animation nowadays is definitely on a much different level than it was back then. Because if you think about, like I said, nothing against the Mortal Kombat movie, I'll still love the movie, but Goro, you gotta admit he'd be looking.
Oh no, it's cheese. It's absolute cheese. It's just that that movie is a classic to me.
Absolutely, it's a classic. Yeah, exactly. Except Annihilation. Annihilation
for his time, it looked good for his time.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think
Annihilation was horrible. Let's not go there.
Yeah, no, it was cheese. It was cheese, but it was just great to see. Because if you really think about it, from going back to movies that were trying to implement video games, like you think about the Mario Brothers and Street Fighter back then with
Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
And just damn that.
Yeah, I mean, there were some movies in the 90s that did right. Like, I mean, what was it? The Dark Man, that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was done right. Of course, Sin City was done excellent. That's probably was one of the best in the 90s. But just for Mortal Kombat, that game was so big and so successful, and then you get to see your characters in live action. And if there was one thing, the fight between Scorpion and Johnny Cage was epic as hell. That was
right there. Yeah, right there in the woods, and then they went into the mine.
Yeah, that was dope. And then you heard the "Get over here." That was stupid.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was
But yeah, the Street. Everyone's trying to do Street Fighter, and oh my god, Street Fighter trash.
Yeah.
I think the only reason people watched it was because it had Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, dude. Everyone loved that. Like at that time, that was like the
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
like,
Jean-Claude was the shit. You ever watch his movies? Oh my god, this movie.
Look, yeah. You gotta think that the '90s, especially the '90s, was like the peak of like martial arts movies and like fighting movies, and like that was the height for Jean-Claude Van Damme because he was in like so many like fighting movies. There was a reason he was nicknamed the Muscles from Brussels.
Yeah, he was dope at Cyborg, Time Cop. I mean, like he did a lot of cool ass movies. Double Take, or was it Double Impact? I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, Double Impact.
That was a cool ass movie. I mean, he had some really cool movies. He did. He had some really cool movies. But yeah,
is that the movie where he had a twin and he had a dream that he was having sex with like his girl or something?
Yeah. They were twin brothers and they didn't know that they were brothers. I mean, he didn't know that he had a twin brother, and one was a bad guy and the other one was just a simple, good guy or whatever. But it was crazy how they had them both looking. And back in those days when they was doing the technology to where you could see the same person on screen, that was like really big. So yeah. So
they got Bloodsport. What is Universal Soldier? Oh man.
Yeah.
The Quest.
Yeah. He had a lot of dope ass movies. But
what's the one he had with Dennis Rodman?
What was that movie with Dennis Rodman?
That was something too.
Yeah, oh my goodness, what was that movie? I can't remember that. I remember they were in there. I thought he had like a basketball name or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, that was wild. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, the 90s were great for fighting movies and martial arts movies, and we still kind of see them stay steady, because of. At that time, you saw the real big height of Jackie Chan and then Jet Li and a lot of those other big guys coming through. Because during the 90s, you had like Rumble in the Bronx. Then we saw the first Rush Hour movie. Like that was a lot of big times for fighters. But man, just thinking about Jean-Claude Van Damme and just Street Fighter enough.
It was called Double Team.
The one with him and what you call it?
Him and Dennis Rodman. Yeah,
I thought that was horrible. That movie was horrible.
It was horrible, but
that movie was worse than that movie was worse than Street Fighter.
I think Street Fighter goes down as probably one of the worst video game movies of all time.
I think Street Fighter's up there, but I think it still resides with the Mario Brothers movie.
Dude, he's right. Okay, Dennis Rodman was horrible in Street Fighter.
Trash. That shit was terrible.
It had nothing to do with the game, pretty much. It really
didn't. It definitely didn't.
Oh man, that was terrible, man. Yeah, that
man turned over in his grave.
But I said, man, with where we were back then with the animation, how cheesy it looked. I think now would be I think we're at a time where we could do it because we have movies. We've seen the rise of kaiju too. Yeah. Like we've seen the rise of kaiju movies coming back with Pacific Rim and the amount of animation that it takes to go.
The Godzilla movie.
And the Godzilla movie we saw with Kong's.
I ain't watched that.
We saw Kong Skull Island, and now we're bringing back the Godzilla universe because they're supposed to be doing another one where they're gonna go at it, and then they're gonna bring in Mecha Godzilla and Mothra and King Gojira, like all of them coming back. Like those two set up for the Godzilla universe. And speaking of Godzilla. We're gonna get a Godzilla movie, an anime Godzilla movie on Netflix. Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters, where humanity got kicked off of Earth because of all the kaijus, and a small group of them want to take it back. So they come back to Earth, and you just see Godzilla and all the big monsters throughout the kaiju verse, just like there, and they're trying to fight to take Earth back. Like that movie's gonna be awesome, and the animation in that looks dope.
Yeah, I don't know about Godzilla as an animation. I'm sure that it'll be dope, but I like my Godzilla to be live action.
He like him to be real. Yeah,
I like him to be real.
No. He likes them to be how they were back in the day, just a little dog that they have on a string.
Just a big ass man in a suit.
I was never really into Godzilla like that.
Oh, man, I love Godzilla.
I wore it into like in video games, like when you played Rampage or or what's that?
The Godzilla Godzilla fighting games back in the day on the PS2. Oh man,
stuff like that. Yeah, but other than that, I didn't never, I'm like, I know a lot of people like, oh, I love Godzilla, and they break down Godzilla. I'm like, man, I really don't care if they bring another Godzilla movie back. God, you see, I ain't watched the new one yet. I'm about to do it.
Man, you cut your mic back off for that. You have to bring back Godzilla. Godzilla King Kong. That's exactly what. That's the epic fight.
I'm not really super into King Kong, and I know I'm older than a lot of people other than Megan. I'm not really super into King Kong.
You ain't that much.
But I mean, you gotta think about it, man. Like Godzilla is one, and King Kong are some of the most iconic characters and monsters alone from that. Besides Frankenstein, Dracula, the Invisible Man, like all those big monsters, the Mummy, all of them, like they're just as iconic as those characters. And the fact that they're getting their revamp and brought back, I'm glad. Except for the Dark Universe.
I still remember going to see the Godzilla movie that came out like 1998. That shit was amazing to me.
It was too. Yeah, even though he was like an iguana. Now,
yeah, he was like cloaking the dagger. He all under the
look of him, but
yeah. See, the movie I liked that I saw the first Godzilla I saw in theaters was Godzilla 2000, and that one.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah,
that was epic. That was epic. Yeah, Godzilla 2000 was epic, but that was made by a Japanese production. If I'm and then like the other Godzilla was American made, and I think that's the problem with a lot of American a producer, because of the fact that they want to westernize certain characters.
Aspects.
Yeah, they're like, this ain't believable. We got to make it kind of more believable.
Right,
and I think that falls into one of those lost in translation things, because we've seen it, is that when a movie is made, if we take, especially if we're looking at like animes and Japanese creations, and we bring them over to the West, and then we put it very westernized and put under a Western director, we end up getting movies that end up like the Death Note movie that came out on Netflix earlier this year. We get a lot of bad translations for a lot of things that just make no sense, and it kills the interest on a franchise that a lot of people like. People hated on the Ghost in the Shell movie. However, the Ghost in the Shell movie was well done. They recreated Neo Tokyo City very well. It was very, very cinematic in the way that they did the animation and the shots. It was very reminiscent to the original Ghost in the Shell movie. The characters very matched up how they were in the show and translated over. It's just what they ended up doing was they tried taking the TV show storyline and then the movie storyline and putting them together, and that's where it kind of fell apart, is because they tried to do both of those at the same time, where they had two completely separate stories.
I just think, me personally, is that America is not really fully ready for the Japanime wave yet. I think that they're a little bit away. Like Akira, that me and you, Knuckles, we went in I tripped you out because when I nerd out on you about the old school animes, I loved it, and then Akira was the one that set it off for me. I mean, I've seen Transor Z and going back to Robotech, which is probably my favorite all-time animation series.
Oh God, Robotech!
You know what I'm saying?
The one that really brought it mainstream, and then I got help from Dragon Ball and stuff like that, and then
because
I didn't see Dragon Ball until the 90s.
The big movies back in the day, like Akira, and then you had the original Ghost in the Shell movie, and a lot of the big stuff that brought in that kind of interest, as well as like the rise of Studio Ghibli with Hayao Miyazaki. Because back in the 90s, you got to think they had Howl's Moving Castle, we had Spirited Away, we had Kiki's Delivery Service.
See, I watched Witchblade before I even knew about Vampire Hunter D. So that's just different stuff that I was into before. Like I seen Dragon Ball Z and other type of animations that came. Well, Japanimations that came out after that. And then once I got back into it hardcore, that's when in the 90s. That's when I just seen this whole plethora of just these Japanimations, and I was just like, oh my goodness! Like I swear, if you guys have not heard of Esclaflowne, you have to see that series. That series is fucking fire. It's kind of like Gundam Wing meets like Centurions. It's stupid. It's got dragons and magic, and it's got like tech, and it's got mechs. It's you know, it's
Vision
really
Vescaflone. That's
yeah,
old school.
Yeah, dope, just dope. So, you know, I would love for developer. Well, let's keep saying developers, for these producers to try to work on these type of movies. Akira, though, that's a gem. That is, to me, I think that's the movie that kind of crossed over. You know,
and really bridge that gap.
Yeah, bridge that gap.
Akira had a lot of influence, even like today, like fashion, everything. It changed a lot.
Yeah,
it does, and the fashion in it, and the way that they envision that futuristic aspect is still very, very heavily sided today with motor gangs. The way that everyone dressed in there with the way that motorcycles are, we're starting to see that kind of futuristic look because they had those unicycles that we saw in the Tron movie. The way that the Tron bikes are, the light cycles looked very much how they were in Akira.
Yep.
And that's a series that I'm sad is not going to get a third part to it because the Tron movie was like Tron Legacy was phenomenal. It was so visually stunning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the story wasn't bad at all either, man.
Yeah, it was not bad.
Reviews. I heard it got negative reviews.
It did get negative reviews. That's another thing. That's why it's just kind of like with video games, with reviews. I don't listen to critics anymore. I remember
I watched it and I thought it was pretty good. I was like, I wasn't really into like Tron like that, but I thought it was pretty dope when I watched it.
Yeah, like Siskel and Ebert were really huge movie critics, and I used to sit there and watch them all the time. And I remember when Blade and The Matrix came out, and they just dogged both those movies. They said that they were stupid, they were dumb, they make no sense. They had no meaning. Why would people waste their time to spend money on those type of movies with beyond them? And I'm like, these guys were highly, renowned as people that knew their stuff about movies. And then and even though I knew I was younger, I was like, well, maybe this is because these are older guys. But a lot of people ran with it, like in articles and everything else, talking about how bad that the first Blade in The Matrix were. And then once the people started getting to watch them, then they both blew up, and then you had some critics change their tone because those movies were just so overwhelmingly popular. And that's the one that, to me, that kind of just changed my whole perspective on listening to critics on anything now these days.
Yeah, because as a kid growing up, my dad had a lot of old VHSs, and he had the Tron movie, and I remember that, and he had it because it was just something that my grandpa gave to him to kind of have. But my dad just had this like box, like this giant old, like, how you have shelves for like DVDs. It was like this little shelf that you opened up, and it had the two doors that opened to the side. You had a shelf in the middle and the shelf in the doors. And I would watch these old movies, and that's what my dad kind of knew growing up I was going to be more of a nerd, because I loved Tron because I thought it was cool. I watched the original Star Wars and a lot of those, the original live action Ninja Turtle movies. Like those, I love those growing up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, dude, those were dope. And it's just like growing up, these movies that I look back now that got this hate, I don't have that. Even back then, I was in all of them. Like I got to see and grow up and see the prequel, Star Wars movies in theater. My dad took me to see those, and I loved them. And yet people still gave them all this hate. And we're starting to see that now with the new series because of what people saw with Episode 8. Because it's not what people want. They don't want it's not a carbon copy like we got with Force Awakens. It's not what they thought about what's going to be in the future. It's
don't say nothing because I still haven't seen it. I've got.
Oh, don't worry. But it's just like the fact of people have this aspect, and you see that discrepancy. We were talking about that. Some movies critics will love, but the people will hate. Whereas sometimes you'll see the opposite, where there's a movie that's absolutely trash to hell, but you're going to see a lot of people love it. And it breaks down into look, you can't take these critics' opinions as fact or as the go-to for how to believe or to think, like, because your interests and your likes may be different from these people, because these people may not be going to see a movie that's in their typical interest group or something that they may really look to. It's because of the fact that it's their job, and that they're going out, they have to break it down into certain sections and kind of thoughts and see how the writing matches up with the pacing of the movie and everything else. They're not looking at it of, oh yes, this is enjoyable. No, they're breaking it down into every little subsect that they can to make sure that it all makes sense in the aspect of the movie itself. So when you're going into a movie or you're going into a game or anything like that, don't take other people's opinions or anything into account. Like, you can see it to get an idea on what people may think about it, but you have to be open-minded and understand that you got to form your own opinion from what you play, because not everyone's going to like the same things as you. You got to be able to have that open-mindedness to be able to enjoy something you want.
Yeah. And that's, that just goes with everything. Okay, so we're talking about Akira, but what about this movie that actually is coming out this year? What is it? Alita, Battle Angel?
Oh, Battle Angel Alita?
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be pretty dope. That's gonna be dope. I think that's gonna be crazy.
Absolutely.
It does look dope.
See, a Battle Angel Alita is one of the things that really show me that I think we're at the point where we can really start seeing some of that Japanimation really come over, because of the fact that Battle Angel Alita is such a phenomenal manga series. If you haven't seen it, like, it's well written, like the characters phenomenal. Like, Alita as herself is just a beautiful character, and really seeing her like finally get the due is great. The only complaint I saw people about the trailer was that the eyes were a little weird. And yeah,
the person who's creating it, he wants that person to look exactly like the anime version.
Yeah, and I thought that was dope. That's what got my attention, because I'm not really familiar with that series.
Yeah, and I'm like, here's the thing that I know that I'm perfectly fine with it. It's being done by Robert Rodriguez, who's known for doing cinematic action pieces, because he did all the Spy Kids movies.
And Kirk Cameron,
and James Cameron. He's doing animation with them. Yeah. So you have someone who knows how to shoot a movie, who knows how to write those action sequences, because we've seen it with Machete, we've seen it with the Grindhouse films. Robert Rodriguez knows what he's doing. James Cameron knows how to really put human characters together, because we've seen it, and he knows how to animate. And because
he's been wanting to do this for the longest time. He's been wanting to do this movie for the longest time.
Exactly. So these two together, putting this movie, there's no doubt in my mind that there'll be anything wrong, because I think these two together can do it justice. It's because, like what we talked about, so with the Justice League movie, that Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon have two different approaches to the way they do the director, but they have their strengths. That Snyder knows how to make action sequences, but he doesn't know how to write characters in their interaction, whereas Joss Whedon knows how to make the characters interact, but he doesn't know how to do big cinematic action pieces all the time. So if you have those two working on that, they can really bring the DCU around, just like these two can do Battle Angel Alita justice.
Oh, and yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks really dope. But that's just the thing, like the point that I was bringing up about with Japanimation movies coming to the big screen. Is the Western audience ready for it? I know that there's, it'll make some money, but for this type of movie to this movie cost probably what, $150 million to make, maybe even more.
I would roughly estimate it, because that was about the same point that we saw with the Ghost in the Shell movie.
Right. Yeah. And you just want to get that kickback so you can get a proper sequel, and that's just the whole thing right there. Is the Western audience ready to go to that level of cinematics?
I think Akira is a good move. I think it's a good move, but I don't see it happening. I don't want it to happen until we are the technology is really, really there. I don't want no iffy CG or anything like that. But Akira is a good way to bring in the Japanese audience.
Definitely, and look at with because we saw with Ghost of the Shell, it did gain a lot of attraction, and people who yes, you're gonna have the hardcore fans that want to support it, but even the people that may not know it, who get to see the visuals and see the action, get enticed by it. The people who don't know the story of Ghost in the Shell got excited by it. I see people who don't know Battle Angel Alita getting excited by it because it looks cool. Mm-hmm. That's the good thing about it, is that we're starting to see that these stories get translated over, and it's gaining attention because of the fact that they're doing something that's very different. They're not doing what we expect in typical Hollywood and other things, and it's slowly making that over. I definitely do agree that we got to see if it's going to get that full attention to be able to make in the money that they're putting into these kinds of projects. But at the same time, I definitely start to see them making the worldwide appeal, but I still think that they may not be full. They may not be fully there yet. I wouldn't say they're niche anymore. They're definitely not, because they're all across. But I definitely think that they're starting to gain that attention and momentum to really be able to make that push, to a bigger audience.
The one thing I would say is that the fan base for Japanese movies and mangas and anime, if they do not play about the references, if it's not canon, if it's not close to canon, they will rip that shit apart.
And that's the aspect.
Ghost in the Shell was one of the perfect examples.
Yup. And what's funny is if you look at the Japanese audience that saw the movie, they said, no, it was done right. Yeah, they westernized it, but they said, Scarlett Johansson was the perfect character to play the major.
She looked like her, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the aspect that we gotta think is we can't just hold everything, like especially the hardcore, the people that know it. We have to understand that most people won't know this aspect. And yes, we want to have our gripes with it, but they're still slowly making that transition over. We have to let them grow first and get that big appeal before we start going after, because if we keep ripping everything for nitpicking every little thing, especially for us as hardcore fans, then those people that want to look at those projects aren't going to be as enticed to do them in the future. A lot of these projects that are getting done for these big Japanese series are, love pieces to the original, and they're their own interpretation. They're passion projects for the director. Keanu Reeves has come out that he would still like to play Spike Spiegel for a live-action Cowboy Bebop, which we know that they're planning on doing. They plan on doing a Cowboy Bebop live action. I believe it's going to be a TV series, but it's like we have to understand that we have to let them grow before we completely rip them apart. Like when we saw the Death Note movie, we completely hated it because of the fact that it was a completely inverse of everything that the series was. However, in the aspect of a fan, the changes that were made it to drive the plot for non-hardcore fans like us. But, at the same time, a lot of the changes that were there, even put off people from the fans like this is kind of, cheesy or stupid on a lot of aspects. We have to, be critical, but we have to also make sure that we're supporting to the conversation at that hand. If we really want to see a lot of these big projects make that transition over.
Yeah. No, another movie that I would like for them to make live action. It probably would never happen is Samurai Champloo. I love that series, man.
I think Samurai Champloo would be pretty dope. I think they could really do that.
See, Samurai Champloo is one of the ones that could definitely work because of the fact that even though it was a big anime, it was very westernized with the way that
a lot of hip hop
spin.
You had that lo-fi hip hop from Nujabes.
I need an Afro Japanese guy though.
Because I just want to hear that. I just want to hear that intro theme again. I love that shit.
Dude, hey, that lo-fi hip hop that they used for that, man, from Nujabes was something else, man.
So dope.
But the way that series was done, it was very westernized, but it was still very Japanese. And I think that that's one that can translate over well to a live action because, the way that Mugen and Jin were, they were very, you could say that Mugen was very Yankee. He was very, very Western. Whereas Jin Jin was very, very.
He was dancing doing all that, man. He was the GOAT.
Yep. And Jin was your stereotypical, samurai.
Traditional Japanese samurai.
Yeah. So that is one of those ones that can translate over really well because it has that appeal on both sides. It has that aspect that makes it work for both. So I definitely can see that one being as one that can translate over. And I definitely would like to see that as a movie or even as a live action because that one was a series that most people never got to finish and needs to.
Who didn't finish? Who didn't finish?
Well, most people, because if you're not looking out for it, like they only got the end of like chapter 1 as it was when we got to the episode where Mugen and Jin were reading what's her name's diary at the
I can't think of that girl's
name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's like writing out their entire journey. And she's like making a joke about it. But that was like the first chapter, and there's like 2 more. But like they never aired it over here in the States. So you have to go looking for it.
Really? Because I just thought it ended. I just thought it ended kind of weird once they found the flower, the man with the flower with the flowers or whatever the hell that.
The man who smelled the flowers.
Yeah. So and then they had that battle. That dude was badass though.
Oh yeah,
he was dope.
Hey, that was Fu's dad, right?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah, I think it was. So yeah, it's been so long since I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a series that we all gotta go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, for real. And
I don't mind.
I don't mind.
See, because especially when we're talking about Japan animation and a lot of what's coming over now, we're starting to see a lot of big things are staying in the States and continuing. But if you look back in the 90s and 80s, we got a lot of series that never got their continuation or finishes. Like my biggest example is look at Case Closed or Detective Conan.
Case Closed was my favorite when it was on Adult Swim.
Exactly. I loved Case Closed because it was the coolest thing. We had a modern day Sherlock Holmes. And an anime because I loved the way that they were showing it. But in the States, we only got to episode 52 before they canceled it.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I was like, yo, that became one of my most favorite animes of all time. And then it shows you how popular it is over in Japan. It's the #1 rated. It's number one rated.
and it's still ongoing after 20 years and has over 800 episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
800 episodes and 15 movies, and that show is still going. The creator's still writing all the stories for the manga.
They had a crossover movie with Lupin the Third.
They've had 4 crossover movies with Lupin the Third.
Yeah, it definitely did. Like it was crazy, man.
Yeah, like that was a series that I loved so much. I actually took the time. I actually broke it down over a course of 3 months, down to the minute, to be able to catch up on all 750 episodes at that time, because I rewatched the entire series.
Whoa, that's some dedication, Jack.
Because when I found it, I was just like, "Yo, I love this show," and I was working at a mechanic shop at this time, and I was like, we had hour lunches, so I'm just like, at this time when I was streaming it, I was like, all right, each episode's 23 minutes. I watch 2 on my lunch break. When I get off, it's 10. By the time I get home, it's like 11. I was like, I'll put on, 6 episodes here, and then I wake up at this time, and I can watch 2 more. I had it broken down to catch up. Like, I love that show, bro.
It's dope. So, well, gentlemen, I have to get back to that game. It's tied up.
Woo! Someone gonna get it good. But thank you, Mega, for joining us tonight, my brother. It's always been good to have you.
Yeah, don't overdo it. Learn from other podcasters. You gotta let the crowd wait. Don't give 3-4 hours of podcasting, because I've done that before, and I remember I fell asleep on one podcast, and I was like, man, is it ever gonna end? That's how you got podcasts it's just too short. But you know what I'm saying? But I do love what you guys do, man. This is really dope. I mean, I hope I can, you guys would ask me to come on some other time, man, because I do like nerding out every once in a while, and especially hearing what the rest of the panel had to say. So, I didn't mean to come in here and just take it over and just do all the talking. But, it was really enlightening to hear what was going on, man.
We enjoy having you, man.
Yeah, it's always good to have you too, Mega. We're glad that you were here to be with us.
Yeah.
Shout out to 102 who had to leave here a minute ago. Had to pop up. So both of y'all, thank y'all very much for coming out here and joining us on this New Year's.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Y'all guys have a happy New Year. I see a lot of potential in this, man, and just keep doing what you're doing, because I mean, everybody on this panel is really knowledgeable in their stuff. So this is really dope, man.
Yeah, thank you, Mega.
No
so
problem.
Appreciate it.
Make sure to reach out to Mega on GRG on Friday nights, as well as you can find his information for Twitter down below. So give him some love for us.
Appreciate it. All right, and again, keep doing what y'all doing, man. I'll holler at y'all, man. Peace, everyone.
Peace out.
Peace.
Good guys over here, man. Good guys. But yeah, man. Like they had some good points. We do gotta got a lot of things coming out that are making that transition that can help push a lot of forward. But like especially if you're looking at things that are staying true to Japanese. Like, so me and you went and saw the Tokyo Ghoul movie earlier this year that came out, and that one was phenomenal because it did well to maintain the story.
Yeah, they really did good. Even the special effects was really good. So
yeah,
too much BS. Like they didn't try to change too much of it.
I couldn't
complain
about
people.
It. Yeah,
exactly. And with what they did with the live action, it was still Tokyo Ghoul. They did one half of the first season. They stayed true to the story. The characters were, for the most part, very authentic and stayed true to the characters. The acting was completely dedicated and phenomenal, and the animation for all the ghouls was so well done. Like, I had no complaints about that movie for the storytelling. My only issue with the entire movie was during the fight between Kaneki and the Dove. I can't think of his name right now, but during that fight, when he had him pinned in his little freak out scene, it was a little over exaggerated. That was my only complaint, because they made it heavily pressed that Rize had such a large effect on his mind. Yes, she had an effect on who he was as a ghoul trying to find his place, but she was never that big of a problem. He didn't really like come to terms with it between him and her until after Jason at the end of the first season.
After the torture of Jason.
But. Yeah. After that, he's just like, I understand what you're trying to teach me now. He's like, but I don't need you anymore. And he kills her and Jason in his mind. So that really proved that you can do the story well. You can do the animation felt well for it. Like, some of the changes they made were necessary for the movie. Like for some fight scenes and things like that. Like, it was well done, as well as like, you know, the only big change that they really did was removing Jason, because they weren't gonna add Jason as the story aspect. Although I hear there's talks for doing a sequel, and I hope if they do that they're gonna follow with the Jason story arc, which is gonna be a little bit changed because the Doves didn't fight Jason like they did in the beginning of the season. However, I still want to see how they do it, because they did it really well.
Hopefully the movie. Alchemist movie is pretty good,
and the Full Metal Alchemist movie we're gonna see too. See, I think that right now where we see, because like, especially when you look at some of the Japanese like live action adaptations, some of them are really good, some of them are cheesy, like with the Assassination Classroom live action. Although it's always great to see Kuro Sensei, because we all here have seen Assassination Classroom, and that one was great. And I have a love of Kuro Sensei, but that one, I was just like, man, it just looks like they took some putty and put a smiley face on it.
Oh yeah.
But I think that
hope too.
But I think we're starting to come to that point where we're starting to see that blend. We're getting to see that Hollywood aspect and budget into it with the production, but we're starting to see some of the Japanese producers and directors kind of help lead that. Yeah. But, you know, with all that and everything that's going on, I definitely think that we got a good year coming up, and everything else. Oh, Supra Gee had to step out for. Oh, yeah. We definitely had a great year from last year.
Yeah, 2018 going to be a great year for anime.
Yep, because right out the gate, man, we have My Hero Academia Season 3 in April starting it off.
Yeah. I really can't.
No, it's a great time to be a nerd. I'll say that. It's a great time.
It definitely is.
Yeah. But to all you fans out there that are sitting here watching with us, we do want to thank y'all for being here for us with all this discussion and being able to voice all y'all's love and opinions here with us. So we do want to thank y'all for joining us through 2017 while we get our start. And here's to 2018. We're going to have a strong year. And it's going to be without all y'all. So from us here at the Smash Podcast, we love y'all. So we'll catch all y'all later. As always, check out our links down below, and you'll be able to reach out to us. Take it easy, everyone.